People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back once again to the Can I Get Some podcast. I'm your host, Damien. This is going to be a good show tonight. I got a great panel of lovely women and one handsome man, myself and Jerk Eye. But we're going to ask. We're going to really try to dive into this question about, is that trope that nice guys finish last still something that's relevant today? We hear a lot of people talking about. Everybody want a nice guy, but for some reason they're so hard to find. And let's just kind of dive into why people think they're hard to find, if they're really interested in them, and what are some of the benefits and drawbacks of being with a nice guy or a bad boy or what have you. But we're gonna also make it gender neutral, because we're gonna say the same thing about the bad girls. Guys, we like bad girls too sometimes too. So it's just like we're kind of going to get an idea of what's attractive to us about a woman who would be considered a bad girl in society. So first I want to go around and just let everybody give a brief introduction of themselves. All you got to do is just say your name, where you're from, your status, and anything else you want to add, but you don't have to. Don't feel no pressure to add anything more than that. So I'm going to start off with some of the first timers on the show. I want to go and get Giselle. Please introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? My name is Giselle. You can follow me on Instagram at Muscle Mommy. It's _musclemommy . It's a fitness-based page. A lot of time in the gym. It's not really like a personal page. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's my first time being on Damien's podcast, so I look forward to it.
Now, I must say I've gone to her channel, and I feel like I'm definitely not in the gym enough because she puts me and most of the people I know to shame with her dedication. Actually, between her and the next guest I'm introduced, Miss Minna King in the house. She's another one who stays in the gym. So, Minna, I know you've been on my show a lot, so please introduce yourself and tell them who you are, where you're from, and your age. And Giselle, if she's single or in a relationship, but I know, but the people out there don't know, because it might be your next ex-boyfriend may be in the chat right now trying to get out there. So, are you single or in a relationship?
I am single.
Yes, that's for all the people out there. This is for all the guys out there. All right, next. Now we're gonna go to one of my favorite people, Miss Minna King in the house. Minna, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Minna King. I'm sick, so excuse the raspiness. I swear to God, I almost smoke cigarettes. Thank you for having me back on the show. I appreciate it. I'm originally from New York. You can follow me on IG, Amena Mercy. And dating-wise, I am in a relationship, and I'm 28. Just turned 28, almost kissing 30 on the 10th.
Always great to have you back. Always great to have you back. She's one of my favorite people to have on the show. And another one of my favorite people to have on the show is my girl Queen up there with the Coogee hat on. The Coogee bucket on.
Actually, I don't know where the brand is right now. But it's
okay. Advertise, show some love to the people. If you can see whoever hat that is, that's a bomb hat. Yeah, support it.
New York.
Okay. Introduce yourself to the people who may not know who you are.
Hi, everyone. I am Queen. I also go by Pretty Prosperous on my TikTok, so you can find me there. I am 28 years old, and I'm originally from Augusta, Georgia, but I currently live in Atlanta. And I'm
what?
And I'm in a relationship.
There you go. All right, thanks for coming back. I really appreciate you showing up and showing some love. All right, next we got Mara. I was on a panel with her, and she just dropping all kinds of gems and wisdom. And I was like, this girl, I need to have her on my show. So I appreciate you coming through. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Mara.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mara. You can find me on TikTok under the Click 411. So pretty much I talk about no girlfriends, just rings. That is my dating philosophy. And I call myself a girly consultant. So anything girly related is what I talk about on my channel, but that's just a little bit about me. I'm also 28 and I'm single because I don't have a ring on my finger. So that's me.
Oh,
Who was that? Who was about to say something? Was that you, Jerk, or was that you, Matt Genius, that was going to say something?
that was the jerk.
That was definitely Manic.
All right. Like I was telling in the back, I met this woman at my cousin's birthday, and she had just the greatest personality, and her energy was just amazing. My wife and I both agreed that we needed to have her on my show. Go ahead, introduce yourself, Lisa. I'm sure the people are interested to know who you are.
Well, what's up, everyone? I'm Lisa Coleman from San Antonio, Texas. I have the ring, so I'm married. I run a nonprofit organization, and you can find our nonprofit on Instagram at Coleman's Corner 1.
Fun fact about Lisa: her husband is an ex-NFL player.
Yeah, I saw that ring, man. Raise that up one more time. Let me count those diamonds. All right. Yeah, I was like, dang.
All right. Shout out to you, Lisa. I appreciate you taking the time. All right. Next, we got my man, Sophisticated Jerk in the house. Cat. I mean, he's usually the very stoic kind of one, but when he says something, it has weight to it, you know. But I was shocked to hear him just letting it all out on my man Will's show. I really enjoyed that interview you did with him, the one-on-one interview. I guess I didn't warrant one of those, I guess, when I went out there. But it was a dope interview that you had. This guy's had some really insightful stuff. I really appreciate you coming to the show. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Jerk.
Nah, appreciate you, Dame. And I'm a Sophisticated Jerk, 44, reside in the DMV area now, originally from New York, and I'm married. So, and I come up here to give Dame some hell sometimes.
He tried. Okay, now last but not least, the Adonis himself, the specimen of human perfection, the manic genius in his ability. Wait! I'm gonna give you the applause before you even start speaking.
I love it.
Go ahead, introduce yourself, genius.
I'm the Manic Genius. They just call me Manic out here. That's how y'all can refer to me. I'm 35, divorced. Cool. I'm cool.
Look at him. That's cool.
It's my mic.
All right, let me share some love to some people in the chat. First of all, I want to show some love to our boy Conrad in the house, Mr. The Real Clips. Check out his show. Follow him on IG, The Real Clips. I got to give Pat Pat was on the show last week, and she will be on the show again. So I really enjoyed her. She show some love. And Shelby has been on the show, and she will always get some love from me. Appreciate you, Shelby. Thanks again for tuning in. All right, so let's get this thing started. Now, this topic is an interesting one. It's been floating around for a long time. And most recently, I was watching Will's show that Sophisticated Jerk was on, and it came up, you know, about the nice guys finish last. It's like, what are some of the reasons that's people believe that to be so, you know? What defines a nice guy and what keeps a nice guy from crossing over into the simp, the quote unquote simp yard. So that's the thing we're going to kind of tackle. But another thing got me thinking about this topic or what have you is, you know, if anybody don't know me, my name is Damien. I'm 49 years old out of San Antonio, Texas, by way of California. I will always claim the Bay because that's where I was born and raised. Married for 16 years, been with my wife for 18 years. So I know a little something about keeping things moving. But this topic takes me back a little bit. All right, story time. All right, story of a young brother who, really wanted to find like love and appreciation, and he was a nice guy. He's a super nice guy. Did all the things right. He was attentive, he was encouraging, he was supportive. Some people would say he was a handsome guy. So he supposedly thinks it should have like really worked for him. But for some reason, he just couldn't get it together. It's like when he like try to date a woman, like assholes would come in and just swoop in and take her and impress her with bullshit, and they would just drop him like a bad habit. And he just couldn't get over it. It was just like, so he had to really try to take a look at himself and see what his problem was, and try to develop better traits to make it where he could find somebody who could really care about, because he just kept losing these chicks to like jerks. No pun intended, jerk. And I guess if you probably guessed right now, this story is about Marshall from season 4 of Love Is Blind. This ain't
Yeah,
about me.
nervous, Dame. I was about to drop suit. I was about to say, please don't tell me Dame was a simp out here.
I'm one of the jerks. I'm used to the jerks who used to take the women. I'm not the guy, but this guy is everything that women say they want. They want the nice guy, handsome man, well-spoken, great job, whatever. And he fall for this horrible person, Jackie. I mean, Jackie she was this hood chick who finally got the ring and got a nice guy who wanted to be super, super into her, attentive. He was supportive, he was loving, he was attentive, or what have you. But she did not want it. She wanted this asshole. This is this asshole named Josh. He treated her like bad. He was cocky, he was arrogant, nobody liked him, he was chauvinistic, and she was all on him. So much so that if anybody know about Love Is Blind, they actually like get engaged. She dumped him before their wedding. She dumped Marshall, dumped this guy to get with this guy. And Marshall couldn't do nothing about it because this dude is an MMA player and would have probably MMA fighter and would have beat him up if he tried to step to him. So he had to just sit there looking all bad, looking down bad because he couldn't do nothing about it. With that being said, that was one of the reasons why I think this has been around for a long time, is because that was the perfect example of what we're talking about. That everything that a woman says they want, the first guy was, but for some reason she could not get the jerk bad boy out of her system. So I want us to kind of dive in and kind of figure out why that is and what are some of the signs that some of the things you can do to kind of make sure that this is not you, whether or not you are, and this is not gender specific. I just use them as a thing because that's something recently that me and my wife watched. And it just sparked my design to have this topic. So that's it. So I want to start off with a couple of videos from, you guys know my favorite psychologist, my Saida Khan. She is just dope, intelligent, and not hard to look at. So I'm just going to start her up, and we're going to just dive into things she has to say. And I hope everybody is engaging, and you can say whatever you want. Like I said, you can ask anybody on the panel questions. Just make sure it's respectful and make sure you give other people a chance to time to talk. Salute to you, Will Nkosi. You basically brought us all together. Big Will is in the house. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right. So let me pull up.
Is not that they're too nice or anything. It's just that they have incredibly weak boundaries when it comes to women. They simply are not just women. It could be anybody. What they do is they lack a lot of masculinity. And what they do is they blame the fact that they're so nice as to why they can't get women. But it's not about being nice. It's about a lack of masculinity. And one of the best ways to establish masculinity is placing boundaries, particularly with women. When you don't like a behavior, you don't roll over and allow it to continue and then give her more in order for you to get her. You set a boundary and you have a willingness to walk away. Nice guys, what happens is they don't like to exert their boundaries and they don't have a willingness to walk away. So what ends up happening is their nice nature becomes a reason for resentment because women don't like it. They actually feel angry when you're too nice to them because then they don't feel protected. They feel like you're weak. If you let a woman make all the decisions for you, she'll slowly start to hate you because she'll feel like she has to raise you and she'll lose respect for you. So you're better. What we truly want is not a man that just is like chaotic. We just want a man who we can trust makes good decisions. He's not the nice guy. He's the one that we'll submit to. But the one that doesn't trust his own decision making and we have to do it and he comes across as being nice, essentially he's seen as weak.
All right. Anybody has anything to say? I'm gonna start calling people out or what have you. I'm gonna go to you, Lisa, first and shoot a new one. You heard what she had to say. What is your opinion on what she had to say? Why women aren't really feeling the nice guys?
I have to say, I 100% agree with what she said, because in my past, before I was married, if I had to deal with someone who I felt maybe wasn't strong enough, where I felt like I had the edge over there. Well, first of all, I have a pretty strong personality. So if someone came across as weaker than I was, I kind of wasn't attracted to that. And if I'm going to be perfectly honest, at times I took advantage of that niceness. And so it did create, we're going to be real here, right?
We're going to get into that. That's part of the show. We're going to get into that too. That's going to be a good segue in the part.
And they let me do what I want. And I did exactly what I wanted to do. So now, you know, a little bit of history between me and my husband, because I told you how we met. Yeah. So he was kind of a bad guy, but I was also kind of a bad girl too. So that's why we clashed at the beginning. But if someone was too nice, and if I have to lead and make all the decisions and they accept anything and everything I do, I'm just not attracted to that.
Okay. What about you, Mara?
Yeah, I totally agree. That video was spot on. I mean, I think for me, I don't really believe there are nice guys in the sense of, I think being nice is a learned behavior. Anyone can be nice. I've seen nice guys be super mean to women that they weren't attracted to, but the moment they saw a girl they liked, all of a sudden they're nice and sweet, but to the ugly girl, all of a sudden they're acting normal. So I don't believe this whole nice guy trope. I don't believe in that. But when it comes to boundaries, and let's say the guy is lacking masculinity, which I do agree with, yeah, what tends to happen is he falls into like the golden retriever energy, which I'm sure everyone knows about, which is kind of like this very eager puppy, versus like the Doberman, which is a bit more of like a strong character. You know, so you end up kind of getting bored with the man that's probably not getting respected at work, like lacks in every degree. So, yeah, I find them to have a very weak character. So when they try to like come after women, I'm like, you're crazy. But I say that with respect, okay? But they don't have it together. So that's kind of my spiel on that.
I want to kind of touch on something you said. Do nice guys really do that, or is that more like a wolf in sheep's clothing? Is that a nice guy is a nice guy? He doesn't play nice for women that he finds more aesthetically pleasing or more attractive, or women that he want to sleep with. He just is a nice guy because he feels that's part of his being is. He's not using it as a tool to get over on women. Do you feel like are genuine nice guys who just are nice to people? as opposed to using it as a tool to get something out, to extract something from a woman?
Well, yeah, no, I don't believe that they're just nice for the sake of being nice. I think once again, it's a learned behavior. That's called being polite. Anyone can be polite to anyone. So, but this whole nice thing of, yeah, I just feel like I've seen like the most nerdy, the most unassuming guys who were nice. When they don't like someone or a girl annoys them, you just see how like detached and how almost off-putting they can be. And it doesn't have to be rude or anything like that blatantly, but you can just see the shift. So I'm like, but watch an attractive girl come and they're like, okay, it's like clockwork. So I just don't believe that. I've seen too many things. For me personally, just watching people and working with them, I don't believe it.
Anybody else got anything? Anybody else want to say anything about that? Anything on that?
Yeah, I do actually. I think we all have different versions of ourselves that we put before different people. So when you talk about someone that's genuinely nice, yes, there are people that can be genuinely nice, but like Mara says, they also will put in more effort when they see something that they're attracted to. I've also seen supposedly very nice guys show very not so nice behaviors. So I do agree with what Mara is saying. I don't think that someone is just out there walking around with just one personality that they present to absolutely everyone. We do that in our everyday lives. We have our work persona, we have our home persona. There's different. So we're putting forth different efforts and different versions of ourselves depending on how attracted we are to someone. Imagine when you met your wife, you probably put more effort into putting your best foot forward with her than maybe some of your past girls might.
Well, that's a fact. But that doesn't mean I was a jerk to him, that I was an asshole to him. You know, it's just like,
no.
There's degrees of nice. And it's not just nice asshole. There's degrees of nice that you can be to people if you're more interested, but you can just be a genuinely nice guy. I'm not claiming to have always been a nice guy. There's circumstances right now where I'm not a nice guy, but you know, but I have come across some genuinely nice guys and women, nice people who are just like, hey, how you so nice? You know, you must have not experienced anything in life, you know, but that's why it's hard for me to believe that people put on they're not out there and that everybody is like this wolf in sheep's clothing trying to play nice to try to extract something out of somebody, you know. Maybe just me, you know. I've only been around almost 50 years. Yeah.
Dame, I kind of agree with you where I think people are typically nice, but I do understand what Mara and Lisa is saying also, where I think guys, when they kind of like are infatuated with somebody based on the attraction, you know, they get into weirdo mode and that's where it starts crossing over that stalker type territory. So then that's why I think they kind of get the negative like backlash and stuff. So I think that plays into a lot of it. And I also like what Carmen kind of highlighted in her comments. You know, there's a difference between weak and nice. And I think a lot of times we push that narrative like nice guys finish last when really it's just a dude that's probably, you know, fixated on the wrong person that actually doesn't like them back. And they're spending all that time and energy on that person versus like actually getting somebody that, you know, likes them, you know, will reciprocate that energy and stuff. So I think it's more or less that.
I agree. How about you, Queen?
I agree with the last thing Jerk just said, because even when you look at Marshall now, I mean, he was a nice guy, but he's engaged now. So clearly he was dating the wrong chick. But when it comes to like nice guys and what the psychologist was saying, when it comes to the whole boundaries thing, I do believe that there is a lot of truth to that. But there's also nice women. So I feel like we could use this both ways, because even Lisa was talking about how she used to be a bad girl. So it's like, I feel like we have to have a balance as people. Like we could have, you know, we could be bad, but we also need to be good as well. Because it's like, if we're too far left or we're too far right, it's like you may get somebody to take advantage of you. You may, you know, not be in a good situation because you don't have those boundaries. And then when you too bad, you might be in situations where you lose out on a good thing. So I think it's like finding that balance in being kind and setting boundaries, basically. Because I mean, you're considered an asshole too sometimes if you set boundaries. So it's like it's sometimes you
fine
can't.
line.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So that's my opinion on it.
All right, MK Princess, what are you doing? What's going on? What do you got to say?
I think everybody made really, really valid points. I think the narrative gets thrown out there for women and men. I think the concept really is nice guys versus good guys and distinguishing the difference between a good guy and a nice guy. From my personal experience, the nice guy that I've encountered has always been the type of person that I know for a damn fact, if it came down to me or them in a survival situation, the nice guy would do anything to save its own neck, opposed to protecting the squad and protecting the tribe, opposed to the good guy who moves with morals, integrity, protector, bravery, and being, aware of the situation that he's in and what is at stake. When it comes to like a survival situation, if we want to take it to the extreme. So I think that is the biggest turnoff, at least for me, when it comes to the nice guy facade, that it's like, I'm going to tell you everything you want to say so I can get your approval. And then once I have you 9 times out of 10, that person ends up being a wolf, essentially. And then it goes into the whole like abusive situation. And, there's the horror stories that men and women have both heard. Same thing for women, because obviously women can be abusive as well. So I think that is the big point here is men and women understanding the concept between a nice guy who will risk anybody for the sake of its own safety, opposed to a good guy or a good woman who will do what they need to do for the sake of the tribe, the relationship, the family, the partnership, the friendship, and the list goes on and on and on.
Wow, man, you really think that there's, but I feel like you and Mara are kind of lying where it's like nice guys are just wolves in sheep's clothing trying to front to get something, or you see it as like weak, like being like they're weak of character and spirit.
I don't want to say weak, because weak is the wrong word to use, because being a good person or a nice person doesn't make you weak. I think everything that makes a person, for example, the ethics of being a person, is where the lines get blurred with a person that can be overly nice. It doesn't go into the weak mindset. I don't think that's the correct word to use. I think it's just the concept of when push comes to shove, are you able to stick out your claws and your teeth for the right cause? Are you able to stand 10 toes down with something you don't believe in or you don't agree in for the sake of the people you're looking out for? Or are you going to bend over because you don't want people to look at you differently or disapprove of who you are and how you move? So I think that's what it comes down to when it comes to certain people wearing a mask per se, because everybody, like she said, everybody has different faces for different situations. But what doesn't change is a person's moral compass and who they are internally. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So I
hear what you're saying.
That's where I think the lines get blurred. So weak, I don't think is the right word for that. But I think it's just seen as, at least from the stories I've been through and I've heard, the nice guy hasn't always been the nice guy. There's been some intent, or if they get rejected, they turn violent or aggressive. Or the guy that's buying somebody a drink and the girl respectfully declines, and then all of a sudden they get butthurt because of it, and then it turns into this whole, but why? Like, why don't you want to take a drink from me? And so I think, at least from my perspective, that's where the nice guy situation can be problematic.
Okay. How about you, Giselle?
There ain't no such thing as a nice guy. No, I'm kidding. I just had my heart broken to let y'all know, so that's why I'm like that. No, I think I don't as far as the video goes, I don't really agree with the whole anger thing, because I don't think it makes me angry if like we don't fight. I think it depends on what type of female you're asking and what someone said therapy. I am in therapy. I think it depends what type of female you're with. I speak for myself when I say all I was used to and all I know and all I got used to like growing up was being around a very hostile environment. So like to sit there and be in a very calming relationship where you have everything given to you and everything's peaceful and calm was very different for me. Like I had to battle through that. I had to fight like my own, like what I'm used to. And being with an ex of 5 years where I was cheated on for 5 years and still sticking by their side because I knew I was the one that chased. Like I was like, I'm used to this. Like I'm used to having to be the one to always have to fight. And then I get into my next relationship and it's like, okay, this is a little bit calmer. Like he's really nice and he's treating me respectfully and he doesn't cheat and I don't feel like I have to worry about him cheating or anything. But at the end of the day, like my whole perspective, like my thought on it is like, if you can go to sleep soundly knowing you hurt me or you broke my heart or I'm crawled up in a ball crying, you're not a nice guy. And especially if it's with somebody, like if you're with somebody, like if you're actually in that relationship, I'm not just talking about like talking to someone. I'm talking about like if you're genuinely in this relationship and like you hurt them and you care about that person, you claim that you love that person, but you're okay knowing damn well that they're suffering and that they're crying or that they're hurt. You're not a nice guy. You're just somebody that said that they were a nice guy and you happen to be respectful, but your intentions were not like pure. You weren't in it for the long run. You weren't in it to, how Minna was saying, like ride or die. You're not there to stand through thick and thin. So I think it depends what type of female that you're asking, because I'm so used to like hostile fighting, arguing, where I've worked on not being in that again. Like will not be in that again. But going into that nice relationship was very, very difficult for me. I found myself like sometimes not being attracted to the man that I chose because he was the nice guy. And it was like, I'm literally sitting here saying like, this man is not attracted because he's nice. Like that's not good on me. So like I had to take that step back and I'd be like, it's because it's healthy. It's because you're not fighting. It's because you're not arguing. And I was able to like get past that. And then I found myself, which is why I got like my heart broken at the end, because I found myself actually in love with the kid. Like I actually ended up being in love with them and was like, okay, this is nicer than I thought. Like this was really something that I'm here for the long run. Like I like this. Like let me express myself to you and tell you something that you did that I didn't appreciate, which then ended up me getting broken up with. So yeah, I don't know. When it comes to like the nice guy, I don't think that I don't know if it's a wolf in sheep's clothing, but I think that we have to kind of like define what a purely nice guy is. Because I don't think they finished last. I just think that they kind of, how she was saying, definitely lack masculinity. And I think they have a lot of insecurities that they have to work on. Like once they get with a female that requires a lot from them, or if it's like a more dominant female, if it's someone that might be out of their league, or it's, whatever the case may be, it can be very difficult for the nice guy to kind of handle all that. And if you're a nice guy with somebody that's like that, they're going to be required to like step up to the plate. Like you're going to require to be the best version of you, because as the man, you better lead. So you can be nice, but you better be able to scrap when I need you to scrap. Like, so.
There's this interview with LL Cool J when he was talking about nice guy. He said, "I'm a good man, but I'm not a nice man. If you steal a old lady's purse, I'm gonna chase you down and get a purse back, but I'm probably gonna break your arm in the process." So he says, "Because I'm a good person, but I'm not a nice person." And I agree with that to agree. But I do believe there's some generally guys who really, really, really value themselves enough in order to just not be dicks and not in order to get some, they just haven't been raised that way. Their experiences haven't made it to where it's necessity for them to, it wasn't that Oprah Winfrey and Color Purple, all my life I had to fight mentality, there's some guys who really had just good things going on and they just never developed that asshole gene or that asshole mechanism, or it never got switched on, and they're just nice people. I'm not one of them. I've seen them, but what have you. Now we got to give it to the manic genius. What do you got to say, brother?
Just on the overarching topic, I don't think nice guys finish last. But listen to everybody on the panel, just trying to just define nice. I've heard words like weak, non-masculine, but I mean, I don't really think that's what being nice is. I mean, nice, just from a basic level, from my understanding, is just being pleasant and satisfactory, a little bit agreeable. So I see where there can be an issue there when dealing with women and, not having any boundaries. But I think that as men mature and they actually experience things and really start to understand who they are and what their capabilities are, then that's where those boundaries come. So, two things can be right at the same time. Like, I consider myself a nice guy, but some people would consider me an asshole. Because
ladies,
because I'm truthful.
You're watching, he's a super sweetheart.
Yeah, I'm a teddy bear. No, but I mean, like I do believe in being kind, but when it comes to like if I were to see like a woman get her purse stolen and I can run pretty fast, I'm gonna just watch. I'm not I'm not going after.
Like, you're gonna be nice to the mugger.
Nah, I'll be nice to her and be like, damn, that sucks that that happened to be you. I'm not about to chase nobody down off of something that I don't know and put myself at risk. And it's not that I'm scared, it's just that it's not my problem. So, and I realize that there's things bigger than me. So if her purse was meant to get stolen, then it was meant to get stolen. Life's not fair.
You said that thief manifested that purse.
Exactly. And I mean, he executed, right?
Shout out to Flow State. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll definitely stick around and like talk to the woman like, hey, yeah, I hope you didn't have anything valuable. Like, if you had your cards, give her some advice. Hey, get those deactivated, like get those frozen. But nah, I'm not chasing after nobody and putting, everything I've worked hard for at risk to like for a fucking purse. So if now it's different though. If it's different though, if it's my woman and stuff like that, then it's just like then I have some like loyalty and like okay, because it's like you took that shit from me.
You might have the house keys in your purse, so
yeah. I mean, there's a benefit for me, right? So, but yeah, I'm still a nice guy. I'm just not a sucker. So I think that's what a lot of times women have confused. They'll run into guys and like, oh man, he seems really nice. Let me see if I can run this game on him. And, it's like, you can be nice. Like for all the men out there who are genuinely nice guys, like you can be nice, but you have to be aware of who you're dealing with. Right. So if you are nice and somebody can recognize how great of a person you are and they want to take advantage of that, or if they disrespect you, then it's just like, you got to drop them, and you don't have to be mean. You don't have to be rude. Like if you, buy a drink for a girl and then she just takes a drink and walks away. It's just like, okay, you just took an L. Learn from that lesson. Shorty wasn't feeling you from the very beginning, and you don't need to tell her about herself. You just keep it pushing. And next time when you buy a drink for a woman, make sure you making eye contact and make sure you learning from, that L that you took earlier. So I think life is funny. Everybody's going to get theirs. So I definitely promote men operating in, kindness and goodness, but don't be stupid out here.
Yeah, I agree. Flow State said, nice guys are liars. That niceness is insecurity. Women can smell that deception most of the time.
Yeah, she just hurt. Yeah, she just hurt.
I want to give a shout out to Terrence Johnson, my cousin. What's up, cousin? I appreciate you showing some love. Next time you're gonna be on this thing. I thought you had something going on Tuesdays. That's why you wasn't up here. So next time I'm gonna have you get down with us. And then we got the man, the myth, and legend himself, Mr. Poppy Blanco in the house. What's up, Poppy Blanco?
What up, Blanco?
Man, appreciate you sliding through, man. Always a pleasure. All right. Anybody got to want to rebut anything somebody said, or if not, I'll jump back into the next part of the clip.
Lisa want to talk. I see her.
Lisa's was like, go ahead.
Yeah. I think we're blurring the lines a little bit because we're talking, the topic is, do nice guys still finish last? And we're talking about bravery and morals and integrity. Well, even a bad guy can have those qualities. So I don't think that that goes hand in hand. To me, when we're talking about, do nice guys still finish last? And I think a lot of the women use some of the more derogatory words like weak and we didn't feel safe or different things like that. But for me, the nice guy sometimes is just a pushover, right? And it goes back to what Mara said. They like what they see and then they just show this niceness. It's just somebody just doing absolutely everything and never having a problem with anything that I do or that I say. So that's to me when some of my girls would be like, oh, well, he's so nice. He does this for you. He's attentive. He's all of these things. And to me, that's what constitutes a nice guy in this conversation, not necessarily bravery and morals and all of that. Because like I said, a bad guy has those too. And I think that we kind of ebb and flow with where we're at in life. And the bad guy can be a nice guy. Because if you ask anyone that my husband dated before getting married to me, they probably don't have good stories to tell. And this is the nicest man I've ever known. You know, anybody that meets him, my family and friends agree with that. He is just a nice guy. But if you knew his history, it looks a little different.
How long have you been married?
I align with that.
Yeah. How long have y'all been married, Lisa?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
How long have y'all been married?
7 years. I had to think about it.
Yeah.
I've known him for over 20 years.
They got an interesting story.
Yeah, there's a little story behind it. I've known him for about 20 years. We lived together, I don't know, 13 years now, and then been married 7.
Yeah, he was pursuing her for a very long time before she was like, hell no, I'm not dating you. Before she finally gave in.
Because I was in my mode too. I mean, he was out there being a bad guy. I knew he wasn't a good match for me, but at the same time, like I told Damien, I knew I wasn't a good match for him either. I really wasn't a good match for anyone. I was wanting to do what I wanted to do, exploring life, experiencing life, having fun. And he was really in that mode too. So had we attempted to really get together at that time, it probably would have been destructive. There wouldn't have been a relationship. There would have been no happy ending. There definitely wouldn't have been a marriage. So I think, you know, being a nice guy also depends on where you're at in life. And Manik, you made reference to this about with maturity and different things like that. I think a bad guy can turn into a nice guy and be at the right place at the right time with a woman that's also maybe in that spot as well.
I would disagree with that last part about a bad guy turning into a nice guy. Like, I think a bad guy could, you know, be a decent individual, but like if you're bad, like, you know, your moral compass is janky. So it's just like, I think people can definitely change. I don't think, but you know, to go from like one extreme to the next, I don't know about all that.
Yeah,
I mean, it depends on
I guess I'm not equating the bad and the nice with who you are as a person, with your morals and your integrity and all that.
Yeah, okay.
I'm saying with how you move in relationships, because we're talking about, do nice guys still finish last? That really is not just in life. That's more of an emphasis on a relationship. Do nice guys finish last, or are they always getting dumped for the bad guy?
See, I don't even think it's the nice. I don't even think it's the real quick. I don't even think it's the nice guys that are like getting dumped for like the bad guy. I think it's just like it's the, you know, the women already identified it's the weak dudes, it's the suckers, it's the dudes who lack awareness. Like, you know, if a girl's not feeling you, it doesn't matter how nice you are to her, like she's not feeling you. So if you don't have the awareness to understand, like, you know, a relationship is reciprocal, then you're going to get taken advantage of. And that doesn't mean you're nice. That means you're a fucking idiot.
What you gonna say, Jared?
Yeah, can I ask the ladies a quick question? Have you guys ever had like a really nice guy, genuine, you know, not the one y'all could spot, where you guys passed on them, our friends on them, whatever?
I want Mara to answer this.
I mean, okay, so I mean, no, never in my life. I've never experienced anything like that. As far as being or having a guy be friend zoned, it never even got to that point because they revealed what they wanted at some point. So they never even got to get into the friend zone period because I already canceled it. So, for example, there could be like a nice, and I'm going to put that in quotation marks because it really could just mean someone that has strong empathy skills. You know, they're very compassionate. And they can be compassionate to everybody. So once again, it is like a boundary issue. But I've had some guys who were super nerdy and like wouldn't hurt a fly, okay, be the worst. So I don't really care if they look nerdy, if they look super confident, if they're in between. They don't exist to me. Like I said, I'll stand by this. Being nice is a learned behavior. It's just etiquette. It's just being polite. So when that politeness is over and you don't get your way with me, then I guess I'll find out what you're really about, which 10 times out of 10 turns into some type of insecurity coming out, some type of rebellion against me, or trying some type of crazy manipulation, gaslighting, whatever. So I personally don't let men get close to me as friends. I don't believe in male friendships, honestly. So the whole concept of me friend zoning a nice guy and you let him go, it never happened because it's a bunch of BS.
All right, how about you, Giselle, to answer Jerk's question?
What was the question again?
That's the question, Jerk.
Yeah, have you guys ever passed on a genuine nice guy, not the one that's like phony that you guys are describing, or kind of like friend zone the guy, which probably would have been good for you, but you're like, nah, I passed on him.
No, I haven't passed. That's why like it's very frustrating with like my situation because he was a really nice guy. Like he genuinely was a good person. Like even at least until the end where it started to get like a little bit weird and maybe I just didn't see his full personality until after like the little honeymoon phase. But at least at the beginning, like I said, like that my ex was not my type. Personality was like not my type, like complete. Because I don't have a problem going outside of my type. Like when it comes to dating, I don't. I know that for sure. I don't want what I had for the last 5 years of my life. So I do everything to stay away from that. But no, my ex was a very, very nice guy, very respectful, treated me very nicely. It just came down to, and that's why like I relate kind of to the video because it came down to masculinity. Like it came down to like that assertiveness. It came down to also like respect. Like if I'm sitting here as a woman telling you and voicing my opinion to you and my feelings and letting you know, like I need this from you, and your immediate response is defense mechanism and taking it personally, trying to victimize yourself, then that's a problem. So I didn't pass on the nice guy. If anything, I worked my hardest to make it work and continued to make it work. Like, you know, you guys heard my story. I told you guys my story and everything. And even after like we broke up, I still tried to make it work because like I said, I like really fell for him. Like I got past the whole stop trying to make things out of nothing, stop trying to fight because you're used to it. And now I was at a point where it's like, okay, I want to pursue this. Like you're actually you were husband material. I like this. But when it came down to the nitty gritty of needing to see that you're going to be by my side, even when I'm at my lowest, he bounced. So I have no problem like dating a nice guy. I just think it comes down to like respect. But as a man being a nice guy, like I just need to know that you can hold your masculinity. Like I'm a dominant female. Like if you are going to come into my life, like I need you to be able to put your foot down and lead. And so that's just not what I felt at the time.
How about you, Queen? Answer this question, and I want to go to the next part of the video with my girl Saida.
I mean, I wouldn't really say I was dating him, but I just remember somebody said you could smell the niceness. But that's so true because I remember going on a date with this guy. I did not know him, and we barely even had conversation. So it wasn't like, you know, I told you certain things that I like or whatever, but he showed up and he had flowers. This is the first date. He had flowers. He sold shoes. So he was trying to give me Jordans. He gave me like 2-3 pair of Jordans. I was just like, this is too much. This is too much. Like, park your brakes. I don't know you. You don't know me. And it would just seem like he was trying to give to get. And it just wasn't. So I understand where Mara is coming from, like, as in, you know, trying to hurt, like you're trying to let people perceive you as this nice person, but you're kind of giving too much to see what I'm going to give you back. But it also has to be reciprocal. And we wasn't there yet. So that was my experience with someone. Yeah.
But you said he got you some Jordans on like is the first date type. You still got his number?
3 pair.
Queen, you might have messed up, Queen.
Yeah,
you just say you still got his number.
You said he gave you 3 Jordans on the first date. You still got his number? Asking for a friend.
But real quick, Dame, how about you and Manic? You know, so we get some of the guys. Have y'all ever like passed on a nice female?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
me too.
When I was in my whole like club thing, I wanted exciting. I wanted like what you call. I didn't want a woman who was like, you know, I would just say cookie cutter boring. You know, but that was my young Dame. That's 20-something-year-old Dame. You know, I wanted
that was toxic
like,
Dame, huh?
Yeah, something like that. You know, that was a different guy. That was the guy who I wanted somebody because of the situation in being in the club scene or whatever. I wanted somebody who looked good, who was like a trophy or whatever. I was in that kind of mentality or what have you. So I wasn't looking for like genuine like concern and thing. I just like, you look good, you know, we look good together kind of situation. You know, this rock it out as long as it's gonna rock out. Let's take advantage of that situation. And I know I did.
And you said yes to Manic?
Yeah, I definitely passed up on some you know, great women who were just like really like nice, but you know, sort of like how Dame was explaining it. It's just like, I mean, mine wasn't so much of like, oh, now you got to be, you know, look a certain way for like, you know, appearance aesthetics, because I was never in like a popping, like I know Dame shared that using like a popping club scene stuff like that, so I was never in a part of anything like that. So my thing with passing up on like a good woman who had like some great values was, you know, I just knew who I was, and like I was a piece of shit back then, and I at least recognized that part of it, to where like, hey, I would, you know, it wouldn't be a good situation. You know, and I respected her. So like, I'm a nice guy. So it's like, I'm not going to put you through, you know, hell and stuff like that, and, you know, make you hate guys. So I just recognize that, okay, we're not compatible at this point at, you know, where I am in life. But, you know, I mean, as I've gotten older, I've kind of like, you know, changed to where it's like, I've matured. So it's like, I would rather, you know, have a woman who's not out here in the streets and, you know, with that whole extra rah-rah type of mentality. So
okay,
yeah,
all right. Let me jump back into the.
But I appreciate you guys telling the truth. The ladies were capping on that one. I just wanted to point that out. But continue, Dane.
Yeah, overly pliable.
Yeah,
is the term that
but
I think
it's
about.
hard. Could you like, how do you, as a man, make sure that you're nice and not weak? Like, it must be difficult because in this day and age, if you try and be like a bit more assertive, that I'm guessing it gets a lot of pushback. It's hard for a man.
I don't know. I think you'd be surprised. I think that you know, the line of acceptable behavior is way wider than most people think, right? You know, you can be assertive in a powerful, reassuring way without being a tyrant. It's pretty easy to achieve.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think that it's that hard, but I also understand that a lot of people don't have a massive amount of first-hand experience.
Yeah.
They're spending all of their time learning about things through the internet. They don't actually have you need to be skillful and nimble, right? To be able to, it's flirting and dealing with even the same sex, let alone the opposite sex, is like a delicate balance, right? It's a bit of a dance. It's a bit of teasing. Is it too far? Is it too much? Like, you know, it requires experience, and most people don't have the opportunity to develop that.
And it's really easy to have the willingness to walk away when you're somebody that has a lot of alternatives, and it doesn't just mean other women. It could be a lifestyle that is alternative to being settled down. But when you're somebody that doesn't have many alternatives, the willingness to walk away decreases. So I do understand it's very difficult for men to have that, but without the willingness to walk away, she'll look for a man that does have the willingness to walk away. She'll look for a man that does have boundaries, because we need them as women.
All right. Now I want to get on that point real quick. I'm gonna ask the men. Do you know what boundaries women will and won't accept when it comes to dating you guys, to dating men? I'm asking, since the only one who's out here dating is Genius. Have you had issues with women accepting your boundaries?
No, honestly, I haven't. Because I'm pretty like straightforward. I let women know that, like, I have a son, and, you know, I'm very active in his life. I have him, you know, half the time. Me and my ex share 50-50 custody. And, you know, I work, you know, I have a great job. So, and then I have a lot of hobbies. So I kind of let women know, like, hey, what my schedule is and what my time is like. So these are my boundaries. You know, if I set something up with you, then, you know, we can, you know, meet up and, you know, get to know each other. And, you know, some women are like, nah, you can't take me here. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, it's dead then. I'm moving on to the next. But I have like a mindset of abundance. So it's just like, I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince or entertain a woman who's not like directly aligned with what I'm looking for. So it's like, the faster I can vet out a woman, the faster I can, you know, move on to find something that actually works for me. So, no, my boundaries are very like strict and straightforward, and any woman who has an issue with it, you know, they don't get an opportunity. So it's as simple as that.
And do you think that it directly relates to what she said, that guys that have options find it easier to set boundaries and stay with those boundaries? But like in the video, she said, if you don't have many options to like get women, and you've not, you know, are you feeling like, I'm just lucky to have this one? You know, is that what nice guys or weak guys do? They feel, I'm lucky to have this one, so let me just, you know, let her get away with all this kind of stuff like that. And I'm gonna ask the women vice versa as well. Yeah. You know, do you feel like guys are doing, and not just you specific, just guys in general are willing to forego their boundaries to retain access?
Oh, absolutely. And she's spot on, because I mean, I do have friends who are single and whatnot, and like I hear their complaints, and you know, they'll be like, oh, you know, I don't like that she does this, or, you know, I'm not gonna get too specific, but and I'll be like, okay, well, she does that, then why are you still talking to her? Like, move on to somebody else. And, you know, they're just like, man, you know, there's something about her. And I'm like, there's nothing about her. It's in your head. And it's in your head because
she's hot. That's what it is.
Nah, but they don't even be that great looking. So it's just like an attractive woman is, I mean, when you like women, like, a lot of them are very attractive. Like, I find a lot of women attractive. So that's not even like the thing. It's like, you know, it's so much deeper than that. So it's just like,
but we can't always look at things from our lens. You know,
yeah, for sure.
The three men on this panel probably not had a lot of trouble attracting women when they were out there in the world and doing the thing. I'm just saying that. So our experience is vastly different than the vast majority of guys out there. I really do. And I've seen other guys who've been so desperate to like,
yeah.
You know, they've said like I've seen guys where they said cheating is a no-go either way. If she cheats or I cheat, we're gonna break up, and they get cheated on, and the next thing you know, well, you know, maybe I wasn't enough attentive enough and blah blah blah. So it's just like they come up with all these excuses to kind of give themselves the out to like forego that boundary so they can still gain access, because they feel like, oh my God, this may be the best woman to get. This might be how long will it be till I be able to attract another woman or what have you? They've already started down the path of long-term relationship. So it's hard for them to kind of reel it back and really like affirm and reestablish those boundaries. And like, no, I set a boundary, so I got to live up to what I say, because, you know, and then transversely, and I'll ask this question directly to women. If a man supposedly has a boundary, and this could be anecdotal, it can be something that you're just impression of the question. If a man has a boundary and he's often willing to forgo that boundary and forgive, do you start to lose respect for him? And I'm gonna go to men first. You're on mute.
I said, go figure. Yes, I think so, but I think that's with everything. I feel like somebody that is able to bend to the point where you're willing to break yourself to please other people is an absolute no-go. I don't need you around me, female, male, family, brother, whoever. I believe in standing, 10 toes down on whatever is morally correct for you. And if you're willing to constantly forgive and forgive and forgive and forgive, every time you get fucked over, the problem is with you and what you're attracting and why you're allowing that to happen. It sounds, painful, but it's the truth. You can't blame anybody else but yourself to why you're allowing that to happen. And again, this is not just with males, it's with females, brother, sister, mother, whoever. If you're willing to put yourself in a situation where you're questioning your integrity, your morals, your everything that makes you who you are as a person for somebody else or to please somebody else, you're not a nice person. There's a problem there, and you got some form of trauma you need to deal with, because life is going to beat you and beat you and beat you, and you're just going to be resentful, and then you're going to carry that shit with you, pretending like everything's cool. And then once that trigger gets triggered right back up, then it's a repetitive cycle. So yeah, nah, we ain't doing that.
What about you, Lisa? Go ahead, Lisa.
Let's see. I kind of got caught up in what Mina was saying a little bit. Can you repeat your question?
I said, if you
say not answer your question.
No, it's fine. If you get with a guy who is constantly letting you push his boundaries, do you lose or just totally like eliminating that boundary in order to retain access to you? Do you lose respect for that person over eventually?
Absolutely, because I mean, once you realize, just like it goes back to what I said earlier, right? In my past life and my dating life before I was married, if someone just allowed me to constantly do whatever I wanted to do with no boundaries, and they just accepted anything that I sent their way, the respect wasn't there. It's the same with the man. It never causes you to step up in the relationship. You just kind of roll with it, and it is what it is. And when you're bored or whatever the occasion is, that person's just there, standing there, sitting there, waiting on you, no matter what you've done. I mean, I've had past situations where I constantly let someone down, and they didn't do anything about it. So absolutely.
So do you feel like that gave you license to keep letting them down? Like, okay.
Yeah. I knew they were willing to accept that.
Okay.
They showed me that. They showed me.
They said it.
That with their actions. So why would I change? It didn't matter at that point. If I let you down, I let you down. I could just pick up tomorrow and we could pick up where we were at.
Do you feel like people act better? And this, I'll ask this question, but then I'm gonna get to the rest of the ladies and then the fellas and see their answers on it. Do you think people act better in relationships when they know there is a possibility they could lose this person?
Absolutely. It's just like anything else that you're afraid of losing. It's something that you value. So if you no longer value the situation, and again, me personally, I think that people have different masks that they put on. When you really like someone, then you do things differently. So when we're talking about nice guys, and it still goes back to what Mara said at the very beginning, her point was just valid back then. When we talk about nice guys, is everyone across the board going to say that this person was a nice guy? Everyone that they've dated or interacted with. There's always going to be some point where they weren't nice in some situation. So you put forth the effort that you want, and it has to do with either attraction or something that you want to accomplish. And so you're putting that effort in that moment.
Okay. Good point. All right, Mark, I want you to answer the question, but I want to add a little something extra to yours. If you're finding out that, you know, if the person is setting up all these boundaries and you constantly break them and you lose respect, do you let them know and give them the opportunity to switch up? Or if the respect is gone and they'll never get it back?
I think I would try to drop a hint like one time. And if that person did not catch on.
You gonna drop a hint to a man?
Yeah, I would drop a hint like, hey, I kind of noticed I noticed you did this. Like, is that normal for you? And then if he's like lost and he can't catch on, then it's an attraction thing that's kind of being killed at that point. But I would also say, to kind of go back to the original question, something that came to mind with boundaries that some of these guys, if they break their boundary, for example, let's say a first date, right? I just want to get really practical here. Like, I've had experiences where some guys are like, normally I don't do this. I think we've all heard that line. Normally I don't do this. Normally I don't take a girl out to this kind of restaurant on the first date. Or normally I don't really get girls gifts, but you're different. You're special. You're XYZ. But I don't normally do this. And when a guy tells me that, not only does he seem like a liar, but he also seems like, okay, well, if you're just meeting me and you're breaking your boundary, quote unquote, right? I feel like not only does it make me lose respect for him that I barely had this much if I'm just meeting you, but it also, as a woman, it makes me feel quite disgusted. Like, this man is trying to play some type of humbling game, or some type of, you know, I won't really do it for other people, but, you know, you're just so different, or, you know, I wanted to give it a shot. It's not flattering, but I cannot tell you how many men impose a fake boundary because they're doing it with other women. It's like a fake boundary, yet they keep on continuously running it over. So I've had experiences kind of like, I don't know how I would describe that, but yeah, with men pretending to have boundaries. Or let's say they have a boundary, and on the second date, they're like, fine, I'll finally do this for you, or I'll do that for you. And at that point, a woman can't even appreciate what the heck they're doing because it just feels like a force. So yeah, nonetheless, the respect it cannot even be earned at that point.
Well, Mara, do you think you have trust issues?
I don't, you know what? I don't trust openly. That's a very valid thing. I feel like trust is earned. I don't give trust. And I think that's how everyone should be if they have sense. If you are in the business of guarding your heart, which I think every man and woman should do, and you're not openly giving yourself out there, you should be looking at everyone with some type of, I don't want to say skepticism or some type of hesitancy, but some type of barrier of protection. But that's just common sense.
Well, I get what you're saying, but like it becomes a point where you reach a level of maturity to where you should have some level of discernment to know when somebody is actually lying to you and when somebody's actually being truthful. So if you operate from a sense of, distrust, then how do you expect to ever find somebody?
Well, once again, I hear what you're saying. I feel like discernment is obviously going to be a big part of the whole dating process, but I cannot read someone's heart. I will never know that. And I think that's the bottom line. I don't know anyone's intentions with me. Regardless, action after action, you just don't know anybody. Someone can be fake until, 10 years down into the relationship. It's going to be a risk nonetheless. I understand that very well. But like I said, back to my example, if someone's like, I don't normally do this, but I'm going to do it for you. And it's kind of like with this tone of you're lucky, you're the lucky girl. I automatically know what that means.
Well, see, that's different because you have the discernment based on your experiences to recognize that, hey, you're saying it to, imply that I'm lucky and that I'm special rather than being truthful and genuine. The same guy can say it with a different level of nuance to where it's actually authentic. But if you automatically come from the standpoint of distrust and that, oh, guys lie, then it's just like you might have missed on, multiple great guys.
But she laid out a good point though, where she's like, if they're breaking their boundary when they're talking to her in the beginning, trying to do that whole restaurant thing, like, oh, I never really do this, then
yeah, that's some BS. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they just need to take you to get that 2 for $20, and be right with you.
I'm just gonna say this, like, and then we're gonna go to first shout out to Gas Mask. I appreciate you coming through. If anybody who hasn't liked or subscribed the show, please do. I appreciate you the love. So like, subscribe. And if you think anybody can get something from the content, share it to them. Love you for it. It's just like I'm just stuck on it. It seems like a lot of stuff that you're describing is the wolf in sheep clothing, where they put a facade up that's not their true nature, and you engage with them based on the facade, and then the facade drops. And we're like, and I think you're painting everybody with that. I think what Manik is saying is that, with the more you do it, the discernment comes, then you can start to see right away, okay, this is a facade, I'm going to move on. And you can start to be able to recognize the people that are genuine, who really do this stuff for you. And, some people might have boundaries that are more of a protective thing for themselves, and they feel comfortable when they put that boundary down, let that boundary go, because they're feeling something comfort level with you. So like, I think it's just because I worry that you think when you engage with guys, there's more guys out to do you wrong than out to do you right.
Yeah.
And I think that can lead you about a point of where you like Genius said, you might see one little thing like, oh, that's it, and then it's like there's no kind of, you get one swing, you're out kind of situation, one bite at the apple, and if you don't do it, you're out. And that's what I think a lot of people, and you're not alone. There's a lot of people that have that. People go through stuff, and that might become part of how they approach dating is, all right, what's the one thing you're going to do to disappoint me? And then something happens and they say, see, I knew you were going to disappoint me, I'm out, kind of situation. So I just, there's people out there who generally want the same thing you want. There's guys out there who want to look at you, a smart, attractive, intelligent woman. It's like, I want to marry this chick,
right. No, I think, just last comment, I think it's one of those things where if someone has the audacity, I use that word very carefully, to mention that on the first date, that to me is weird. I think certain things, like, you can have some type of tact, and maybe that's something you keep internally. Like, maybe I wouldn't do this for for this kind of person or whatever, or on a date. But I don't think it's something you would openly share, on a first meeting.
That's cap. That's cap.
That's
I think
what I'm saying.
What guys need to learn,
it's just a guy with no game.
That's what I'm saying.
Women love to like discover shit. They don't want you broadcasting shit. Like, if you got a nice car, just say, hey, I'll take you for, let's go for, I'll pick you up, and then they just come down and see the nice car. You're gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna pick you up in my BMW. Then women like, that's bullshit. You want, I see what you all about. But if you just happen to have it and you just should, I've learned that women would prefer to discover all the amazing stuff about you instead of you broadcasting it. All right, Giselle, what about you? No, go ahead, Lisa.
I think it's manipulative to state something like that, like especially on a first date. Oh, this isn't something I normally do.
Yeah, but you walk in and they be like, "Hey, medic, how you doing?"
You want the usual?
In my opinion.
All right, Giselle, what about you? If somebody, like the original question was, if somebody is constantly letting you break their boundaries or just not, and they're moving the goalposts constantly for you, do you start to lose respect for them? And if you start to lose respect, do you let them know that you're losing respect for giving a chance to course correct, or you're like, dude, once it's gone, it's gone?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, obviously, I think if you're walking all over somebody, you're going to lose respect for them because you're like, oh, I can walk all over you. But I kind of mentioned this like before, not today, but like in previous like podcasts and stuff, is just like, I think as like females, sometimes subconsciously or consciously, whichever, we kind of throw in like little testers to see like how a man will handle a situation or an attitude or like assert dominance or something like that. But I don't know, because I can only like talk about like my experiences, and I've only had one serious relationship besides like, I don't think the 6-month one you can really count as that serious yet. But, like, I think men boundaries are a lot simpler than like women's boundaries. Like men are very, I think, simple creatures where it's like, fuck me, feed me, respect me, and love me, right? And then we have this laundry list of like no boundary, like you're not going to pass all these boundaries. So I can only speak on experience where it was like with me and my ex, like he had communicated he didn't like to be yelled at in relationships, and I didn't respect that boundary a few times. And because in my, like the way that I am is like, I have to yell to be heard. That's something I'm working on, but I did it like twice, and that actually resulted in like our relationship ending. So who am I to sit here and tell him he's wrong for having those boundaries and like breaking up with me for it? There's obviously more reasons to it, but yeah, I think if you set those boundaries, like I also had boundaries that I relayed to him, and at the end of the day, he disrespected them and did not value them and did not care about what I had to say. So yeah, if you let somebody pass on those, like your boundaries enough, you definitely are going to get disrespected. I did it for 5 years. I let a man cheat on me over and over again, and let that boundary just pass. And he did it and did it and did it. And it's because he knew I was going to be there. And because every time I threatened to leave, I didn't leave. And then one day I got up and I left. And next thing you know, a few months later, wow, I didn't realize how great you are. I didn't realize all the things, all the how amazing you were. I didn't realize how down you were for me. I didn't realize everything that you gave me and everything that you offered, because even within 5 years of being cheated on, I still stayed faithful. I still was by his side. I still hyped him up. I still talked positively about him, because I'm not going to go talk negative about somebody that my dumbass is staying with. So yeah, I think if you walk on, you don't respect those boundaries enough, you're definitely going to get disrespected.
All right. Anybody else want to add to that?
I'll just say, just really quick. I'll make it quick. Like, thank you, Giselle, for
no, you won't, but it's all good.
That experience.
But it's all good. You can go.
Thank you, Giselle, for sharing that experience and being vulnerable about what you had. And that just goes to show it's not gender bias. Like, you have women on one side, you have men on the other side. Everybody can get taken advantage of, and when you allow people to constantly disrespect you, then they begin to normalize it. And then, once disrespect is normalized in a relationship, the relationship is either doomed or you just have to accept being disrespected. And more power to you, Giselle, for walking away, because I think that's one of the greatest, exercise, that's one of the greatest thing you can do as a person, to walk away from a disrespectful situation. That's it. See, I told you it's gonna be quick, Dane.
Okay, you're right, man. All right, let me pull up some more of a slider real quick. I'm gonna skip one part and okay, where is it?
Shout out to Dane with the timestamps. Looking professional out here.
try to keep it cool.
Looking like you know what he's doing.
Women.
It works well for women who are planning to manipulate you. So the women that are planning to manipulate and planning to use, feel safe in that. It works well with Automan and leader into on his own is one that we can naturally submit to. What I mean by that is if I have to tell you to do this, that, and the other, and you listen to me, I don't respect you anymore. Because if I had to tell you and you listen to me and I'm better than you at making decisions, I'm more powerful than you, I don't feel protected. You simply have to be a man that could literally take a girl by a hand and lead her into whatever lifestyle you is, but she feels safe in that knowledge. But if you're the type of guy who's like second guessing himself, if you're second guessing yourself and then submitting to me, it's we automatically don't find that attractive.
That can't be the same for every girl, though, right? There must be a spectrum of women.
It works well for women who are planning to manipulate you. So the women that are planning to manipulate and planning to use a man, they love this guy without boundaries. The girl that genuinely wants to have a connection with you, build a family with you, have a network with you, she actually wants you to have a backbone and wants you to have an opinion. The one that's planning to not stick around too long, the one that's planning to keep in touch with another guy, the girl that wants an alimony as soon as the kids arrive, that's the one that wants you to be this people pleaser, bend over backwards, do everything I say.
Wow. All right. So this gets into manipulation, and this can go both ways. I don't want this just to be about it just happening that she's talking about women, because that's just be about guys getting in the friend zone. Is like, have you ever consciously been with somebody because you knew that you couldn't manipulate them? And this is a safe space. If you were a piece of shit one day, but you're not a piece of shit now, feel free to tell about your piece of shittery days. If you have ever been in a situation where you knew I can manipulate this person, so I'm gonna stick with them because I've realized that their boundaries are so, or if you've been the other way around, where you've been manipulated because your boundaries were so pliable, give a little. Open up. I want us to open up about that. Has anybody ever experienced that? Let's start with you, Queen.
Oh, well, I was gonna make the point of.
Go ahead.
I just feel that nice girls can finish last too.
I agree.
So basically, I used to be considered a nice girl because I didn't have boundaries. I didn't have these things in place. So when we talk about Giselle's ex walking away, those were his boundaries, but it was hard for her to walk away because she was committed in the situation. I've been in that situation too, so it's like, of course I'm going to be disrespected and I'm not going to be taken serious if I'm not standing on business. So it's one of those things where I just feel like if you're a woman and you're not doing the same thing, as in setting those boundaries and basically standing on business, then you're going to get manipulated as well, because you're just not, you're being too nice. You're being too nice, and you have to have a backbone as well, unless somebody is not going to take you serious either.
All right, go, man. I see you nodding your head. What's happening?
I'm taking notes. So no, I agree 110%. I think I've been both on the spectrum. I think, back when I was younger, if I could manipulate, I sure as hell did. And that's not just with relationships, that's with anything. And I was the teenager that I did what the fuck I wanted to do, how I was gonna do it. So manipulation, yeah. If a person can get away with something, it's instinctual. Like morality, it's taught to you by your parents, your upbringing, and everything. But there's certain things that can happen to a person that can taint that. So I have been manipulated in the past, but also in the same token, karma comes right back around. And I also got manipulated. And I knew what that felt like. So now fast forwarding, now that I'm a mom to a 9-year-old, now I see all spectrums of the situation where I'm like, okay, what I did was wrong. What happened to me was wrong. It most likely is going to happen to my son. And like, you can see all perspectives. So I think that if you're not aware of who you are, what you want, what you stand for, what you believe in, it's going to be very easy for you to get manipulated. And it's fair. Like you don't have that answer. That comes with time, experience, and just different situations that you have to be exposed to come to the realization of that. So I think it's a learning process, but I think the key factor to make the road less heavy or less painful is being aware of what you do to other people, so you don't continue repeating that cycle to the next person you get involved with. So
you know what? I want to ask a question. I'm gonna get back and let everybody answer, but that you brought up a point that I didn't think about, and I'm gonna ask this question to everybody that has, because I have a son. Genius has some. Your son's a kid though. He's a little kid. What but it's fine. You can answer the question too. Jerk. Lisa does. Mara, you don't have any children, right? I'm assuming. And do you, Queen?
Mm-mm.
And what? Giselle, I know you don't. All right. And it's a funny thing, but I think we all have sons. What would you rather have happen? And I'm gonna ask this of Jerk first. Would you rather your son come to you be like, God, Dad, this chick manipulated the heck out of me. I did X, Y, and Z for her. I did all this stuff for her, but she manipulated, just, used me and abused me, just dumped me and blah, blah, blah. Or would you rather be walking in the mall and a woman comes up to you be like, your son is an asshole. All he did was manipulate, use me and abuse me, treated like she took advantage of you. Which would be easier to deal with? And it's probably going to be different answers from the men. So, Jerk, which would be the easier thing to deal with, to say that your son was the manipulator or got manipulated?
Great question, Dame. As a child of God, I would definitely prefer him to be the manipulator.
Okay. What about you, Genius?
Same answer.
Okay. What about you, Lisa?
I don't think it matters what I would
Your
prefer.
grandson, which one would you rather if he came to you?
Well, he's going to manipulate, and he's going to be manipulated at some
No,
point.
but one of them's going to hit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely going to hit different when he's manipulated, but it's going to happen. It happens to all of us, whether we admit to it or not. We've been on both ends. We're the manipulator, and we've also been manipulated. I mean, I know for sure I've been on both sides of the coin, so I expect that he'll have both experiences as well, but they shape you.
But you got two questions. You gave a politician answer.
You as a parent, that was a very all lives matter
tactful.
answer. All I'm saying is,
I would prefer for him to be the manipulator.
Well, join the dark side. That's what I'm talking about.
100%.
What about you, Meta?
That's a good question. Actually, that wasn't a politician answer. That was a mama answer, first of all. So, like she said, it's gonna happen either way. And I think at the end of the day, everybody's a villain in somebody's story. So for my son, I would rather him go through the heartbreak, because that's gonna shape him. And like I said, if it wasn't for all the heartbreaks I've done and all the other bullshit I've done, like, I don't think I would be who I am today doing what I do. So I definitely feel like pain makes a person a lot stronger. And a heartbreak is it will really shape you and will really, you know, test your gangster. So I'll go with I'd rather have my son be heartbroken. Because if somebody comes up to me and is like, yo, your son was a jerk, this and that, already, like I said, you know, guys, actually it was on the video where like guys do have this stigma, unfortunately. And I think about that every day, especially being a mom of a boy. Men have to be carried differently. So I wouldn't want that because, like I said, yeah. So I'd rather have my son broken and I could talk to him. I know he's going to recover, bounce back, and the world keeps turning, opposed to him being like a piece of shit person to somebody.
Okay. All right. Now I'm asking people who don't have kids. So go ahead, Giselle, what would you rather? If you had a son, would you rather him be the manipulator or get manipulated?
That's a hard question. Fuck. It's just hard because it's like, obviously I don't want my son to be an asshole because I'm gonna beat his ass. But then if he gets his heart broken, I'm gonna beat her ass. So I'm trying to think because my brother actually, he's 21 and him and his girlfriend just broke up. His girlfriend just broke up with him. And she strategically did it after all the holidays, birthdays, literally broke up with him. And so she's been unhappy from months ago. So like, I'm trying to think, like my brother is heartbroken right now. Like he is hurting. They've been together for like 3 years and it pains me to see him like that. So I'm going to say I would prefer him to be the heartbreaker, like the manipulator. Okay. Because at least then I can beat his ass and tell him to stop. And then he won't be heartbroken.
Okay. All right. What about you, Mara?
I guess if I were to have a boy, I would prefer him to be the one who got heartbroken, simply because kind of what Mena was saying. But I'll take it a step further. I do think boys need pain. I think they can handle pain. No, honestly, a lot better. I think they can handle rejection a lot better than a woman can, just biologically speaking. So my thing is, I'm like, okay, I get it. You're heartbroken. Let's go Boy Scouts. Let's go to karate. You need to figure out how to deal with your negative emotions because it's only going to get harder. When you go to the workplace and you keep getting rejected, like you're going to have to develop skills to deal with rejection. When you're climbing in the world against other men, against whatever hardship. So I would probably be like, let's equip you with tools so that you can figure this out versus being a womanizer, because that's something I personally would not tolerate. If I had my son who was acting like a hoe, I'd be like, absolutely not. Because then I'd be like, where are you getting this from? Because it can't be your father, so I would think in that way. Yeah, I mean, yes, I get it. The whole thing of you're going to be manipulated at one point, yes. But once again, I'd want to raise my son to be extremely integrous. So do everything you want to do with your whole heart. And if it doesn't work out, you're not going to be out here complaining like a little biatch. You're just going to have tools to figure it out.
I think that's like,
so Mara, you're not a feminist.
Let Giselle go ahead, Giselle.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think that's kind of like a gray area because, to be honest, like I've heard of like the good men that have had their heart broken and they turn and revert to being the demon. Like they revert, they're just like, screw this. Like I've had my heart broken. I'm the nice guy. I'm done with this. I'm just gonna be an asshole. I'm gonna be a player, and they kind of like flip the script, so they switch it. But I also like one thing I will like address too is like I don't think men can handle being denied easier than women, because you think about it today, like men are denied constantly, and next thing you know, we went from being wow you're gorgeous to wow you're a bitch. So I don't think I don't think they handle denial very well.
I think also though, I mean, assuming that I don't want to be a single parent, right? So when I'm with someone else and we're raising a son together, I would hope that there would be instilled those type of value systems where it's like you're just gonna have to deal with the fact that rejection is a part of life. I feel like if you have a boy who's off the rails, it's because he doesn't have an active father figure in his life that can hone him in and guide. And I can say this because I work as a nanny. I've been a nanny for 10 years. So I'm with kids. I know kids. I raise kids for a living outside of what I do. So yeah, it's almost like, okay, how are you dealing with like your vasopressin? How are you dealing with these things? I mean, I think it's a biological thing. Yeah, women, I don't think can handle rejection. Women can be healing for like 20,000 years over one relationship, and men are not like that. You know, they'll be like, oh, I moved on. And you're like, oh, okay. The other girl's in therapy for 15 years. I'm still bitter.
They lie.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Minna.
I think to piggyback off of what Giselle said, I think a big thing, and dads, please correct me if I'm wrong, even mom, okay? Like, I think it comes into play if the mom is present. Like, it goes back to how much your son loves his mom. Because if you marry the wrong person, right, that doesn't care for your son, doesn't show it that mom affection that a little boy needs, because obviously a little boy needs mom and dad, but the soft side, the nurturing side comes from mom. So if you have a wife or a girlfriend or someone you have a baby with, and that mom is not present, that can cause problematic behaviors, which will lead into, you know, adult men that struggle with certain relationships. So I think it all stems with making sure that, you know, father love is present, that structure, all of that, but also the mom and love and, you know, that balance that is essential to like create a human to be like a good human. So I think the relationship with the mother is very important when it comes to how a man treats his wife or treats a girlfriend. But that's my perspective on that.
All right. I didn't answer, so I'll answer. All right. And this is just to be 100% funky and transparent, is that I would rather him be the manipulator because I'm more equipped to deal with that than what you call it. I got my heart broke when I was 10 years old. Fuck you, Princess Butler. But you know,
shout out to Princess, helping you learn some hard stories or lessons.
I hope everything in the bad happened in the world happened to nobody but you. No, I'm just kidding. No, but no, it was just like it's like I'm more equipped to do that because I've been the asshole who's done that, who's been manipulative and stuff like that. So I'm more equipped to let him know the downfalls of it and help him try to progress out of that, try to grow out of that type of behavior. Because I feel like I've successfully been able to do that and found a long-term relationship. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm more equipped with that. His mama can be like, go tell she broke, you know, he got his heart broke. Give him all the love and hug and stuff like that. Cause I'm gonna be like, okay, man, you got a short period of time where you're gonna be in your room crying about this, and then we got to get shit to do. You know, that's kind of how things are. But yeah, if I had to pick one, you know, I would prefer that he would be somebody who is a manipulator. It gets brought to my attention, and I can use my particular set of skills that I've acquired over a long history of being an asshole to help him through it and help him become a better person and be a better partner to a woman in the future. So,
but Dame, real quick, if I had a daughter, I would want her to be the manipulator too, because I would just want my like kids to be in a position of power. You know what I'm saying? So that,
God, and that's good because I do have a daughter, and what this kind of briefly touch on that. Would I want my daughter to be the manipulator or to get manipulated? I promise to say probably my answer is the same, because I would rather her be manipulating too, like you said, because I can walk and I probably have a better understanding as a man, like, you know, what that does to a man, how many super villains that create that go ahead and treat women like shit. Because, and that's the thing when you're saying like men can handle rejection, Men don't sit there and cry over it for years. They just treat the next women like shit, the next 10 women like shit.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. I don't think like the women that are like going to the therapy or like are sad about it. So like after my 5-year relationship, I was single for almost 2 years. And I think it was less because I like got denied or wasn't wanted, but more so because I wanted to try to fix like what I could so the next one's better. So I think like where it's like men get denied and they're just like they use that as like the power to like be the assholes like later on, where it's like the time that the women take, it's less not being able to handle denial and more so trying to make sure like, okay, what else can I fix? So that way I can be the best version of myself for somebody else. Like we're already kind of thinking ahead.
It's when I was gonna play that clip from I was trying to find it, but I couldn't find it before the show. That clip from that movie Hitch with Will Smith, where he's crying outside of the car with his woman is in the car with another dude, and he was like, "What did I do? I did all this stuff." And then the dude looked at him and was like, "Man, you doing it now. You being the sucker now. This is what it is." And because of that instant, he changed his whole view of love. Now love became a business. He disassociated himself with actually finding love for himself and just used it as a tool and like for financial gain as opposed to finding love for himself. I mean, men, we react to shit and it just surf under the surface. You can't see. Women emote their emotions and you see it on their face, like they're crying, they're mad, they'll break things. Men can be quiet and then be in quiet misery for the next 10, 15 years. Like I said, treating the next 10 women like shit. So, all right. And let me get into one more part of it. If anybody else has anything to say, I would just with this one part, because this part is going to be like the settling part. Like, do people, what are you settling for in a situation? So let me pull him up. All right.
Rather than he can't do any better or she can't do any better. Eventually that catches up, because a person with low self-esteem who feels like they've been punching eventually starts to get so much low self-esteem that they might seek external validation. So they might be more likely to cheat or more likely to betray you, because at some point they can feel that they know that that you're above them, and that low self-esteem can create a desire to connect outside. So unfortunately there isn't really a cure to that other than true connection. But one thing I would say about people pleasing, they say that it's linked to an absent father. They say that women and men use that strategy, but the problem is you almost guarantee the divorce. If
aggressively date down, thing that's very true. You're terrified of being betrayed around the room. Like he is a bit of one of the first few episodes.
Pieces don't usually end up together.
Did you watch Succession?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so it's pretty cool. It's this series on HBO, and I think it's really early on. Maybe one of the first few episodes in the first season, and this tyrannical father is pointing at his only daughter who's just got married to a guy who's very pliable, at least for the first few seasons, unbelievably pliable, right? He is a bit of a social climber, the potential future husband, bit of a social climber. He kind of wants to be a part of the crew, so to speak. And he says the dad is just fucking going around the room like, this is something I don't like about you, and this is something I don't like about you. And he points at Shiv, the daughter, and he says, you married a man that's beneath you because you're terrified of being betrayed.
Oh,
fucking painful.
Very
but in that
true.
moment I saw something that's very true. The people that are scared of losing their partner a lot of the time will aggressively date down because they know that they're so far ahead of what that partner would typically be in a relationship with. With Shiv, it's largely resources and money and access, which is kind of strange because the dynamics flipped typically from the way it would be. But that really, it's like one of the most brutal insults. Like it insults both of them at the same time with one thing. You married a man that's beneath you because you're terrified of being betrayed.
And it's very true. A lot of women and men use that strategy, but the problem is you almost guarantee the divorce. If I marry someone beneath me to prevent him cheating on me, that doesn't change the other aspect that is required for a healthy relationship, which is bringing equal value to each other's life. And when one feels like they are married below, it doesn't work out either. The true connection comes when you both bring equal equal value, and you choose to be with each other rather than, he can't do any better or she can't do any better, eventually that catches up, because a person with low self-esteem who feels like they've been punching eventually starts to get so much low self-esteem that they might seek external validation. So they might be more likely to cheat or more likely to betray you, because at some point they can feel that they know that you're above them, and that low self-esteem can create a desire to connect outside.
All right. I know that was a little bit longer than the other, but what it was kind of hinting on was, are nice guys something and nice girls something that people settle for, but they still have it, or do they ultimately like don't respect them and they end up, and it leads down the road of like dysfunctional relationships? I want to start with you, Genius. What do you think about that? What she had to say about possibly people settling for stuff and they don't really find value. If they don't find value in a nice guy, but they settle for him, it can lead to like negative things happening in a relationship.
I actually agree with her on that one. Because if you're operating from a standpoint of, settling or giving up on your journey to find somebody of equal, value, and you're just like, okay, let me just take this because I'm above this person, I can control the situation, this is comfortable for me. It might be comfortable in the beginning, but I think the levels of disrespect that are naturally going to occur, later, are just, they're just going to, they're going to come. There are the rare occasions though, where somebody, dates supposedly beneath them in their head, and they come to find out later that, oh, this person is actually a great compliment to my lifestyle. So I don't agree 100% with the clip, but I definitely see where she was coming from. If you're operating from the standpoint of this is what I want, this is what I desire, and I'm just going to settle, then it's like nobody likes to settle, especially in the long run of things. Like I believe that everybody wants their partner to be, someone that they're impressed by, whether it be their profession, whether it be their intellect, whether it be, how they look, or just even how they're perceived by society. So when you start to say, I'm going to date somebody lesser than that and settle, you're kind of giving up on all the things that you really want. And, I don't think that's fair to really anybody, especially your partner. But, there are people who are actually delusional and they think they're settling, and they come to find out that, hey, this person actually is who I need to be with.
How about you, Jerk?
Yeah, I definitely believe aligned with the clip, and I think she was spitting facts. I think a lot of times people do use that strategy, and then they end up resenting that person that they with. So they will start like nitpicking, looking for excuses. Then the next phase is like she said, they start seeking external validation, or, that's when people get the work husbands and work wives. Then the next thing you know, they're getting piped down on a Xerox machine. So that's typically how it spirals out of control. So I definitely agreed with the clip.
Very specific there, Jerk.
Yeah. Heard about it. No, I'm joking.
All right, I'll go to you, Mara. Do you think that a nice guy is something you settle for, and that a lot of women are settling for instead of trying to really figure out how to get what they want from
yeah, I think a lot of women get so tired of dating and they get so exhausted that they tend to fall for the trap of the nice guy, once again, put that in quotes, of the nice guy, and thinking it's going to be something different. And what tends to happen is those tend to be like the worst. I mean, I'll use myself as an example. I went out with this guy for a few months, and he was typical, like nerdy, someone I would never really look at for real. But I was like, you know what? Let me just try, because I dated and dated and dated. Let me just give this one a try. Okay. Even though he's so many things that are not on my list, but quality. I was like, oh no, integrity and blah, blah values. Yes. So what happens is they kind of like what you were saying before, Damien, or one of you guys was saying it, that over time, pretty much it's kind of like, oh, well, I feel so lucky to be with you. Like, I can't believe you're with me and this and that. And then they tend to kind of have this ego trip of, well, if I can get her, I know I can go even higher. So now they feel like they are God's gift on the green earth, right? So now it's, well, I don't feel satisfied in this relationship anymore, because if I could get you, I know I can get her. Not only were you giving me social status and clout and all these other benefits, but now I don't feel like I'm happy anymore. And this kind of goes, I think, and feeds into their insecurity of never being wanted or never being chosen first. Even if, once again, they have certain qualities that would be really cool to be around, but this ego trip of I've never been chosen ends up getting in the way. And then it's, I'm not happy anymore. It's a nitpicking. It's, I don't think you're that attractive anymore. I want someone like this, or you're not really my type, actually. So I went the nice guy route once and never again, because that was the BS. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard the same script happen where certain men nice guys want to humble the women that they finally get. I feel so lucky to be with you. And then 5 months later, okay, I want to upgrade. Yeah. So
yeah, there's a term for that when that happens, and it usually happens women to men. It's putting them on the map. It's like a woman can put a man on a map, because if you are an average looking guy and you somehow pull an attractive woman, you mysteriously become attractive as well to other women of that woman's class, because women align with each other. They say, okay, if she is attractive, I see her as attractive. If she's with this guy, there must be some value there that I can't see first off, but there's some definite value, which makes me curious. So, and then he starts to get more attention from women. So he starts to think, hey, this is me. But then what happens is when they do separate from the woman that put on the map, they fall back to their original station and they get that hard
funny how that
reality
works.
check. So I think there's a lot of guys out there still who really value, like, one thing I can say about my dad, and I've said this before, I love my dad to death, my stepdad. My biological dad it looks different than my biological is arguably a good looking guy. My mother is a very pretty woman. My stepdad, not so much. He looks like Samuel Jackson, but he's a good guy who works his butt off, and he loves my mom. I remember when I got older, he was like, man, I was so happy to get your mom. I chased her for 2 years. I mean, she was a light-skinned woman in the 70s. It was like he hit the lottery, It was just like, so I was so happy to get her, what have you. And he, to this day, is like, still thinks she's the most attractive thing, and she put him on the map or what have you. There's certain guys who really would appreciate that and be like, don't want to mess up. And but then we go back to that whole thing about, but then is that the guy who's like dropping his boundaries just because he's happy to have this attractive woman? Because it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't type situation. If you start to get a big head and think you can get other women and all this kind of stuff, and you realize quickly that you can't, or if you're like, I can't lose this woman, so I got to do everything she say, give her everything she said, work myself to the bone to give her all the bullshit that she wants, then the woman starts to lose respect for you. Because
your stepdad don't watch the show, does he?
Man, my stepdad is 86 years
he gonna
old.
Be like, I heard Dave. I thought I was cute. He gonna be.
He ain't cute. Come on, man. But I always preface it when he's just a dope. He's a good dope ass.
Yeah,
man,
you do. You gave the whole spill, but
yeah, but he know what he look like.
He owns a mirror.
I love that man, but it's just one of those things. It is what it is, But it's just one of those things where I feel like it's like, just to go back what Mara said, it's like when you put guys on the map, it can go that route where they all of a sudden think they can attract more than they can. But for the guys that's listening, if you do that shortly after you leave your woman, you realize that it was your woman that was propping you up. It wasn't off your own. You weren't going off your own momentum. So that's a question. So, and I probably have derailed it to where people. Do you still remember the question I asked, Lisa?
I do.
Good, because I don't.
It had to do with settling.
Yeah, settling.
And I actually think that settling is dangerous for both parties, because the person who settled and went beneath what they normally would do, they're always going to be chasing what they really want. So there's that opportunity to cheat, because the moment what you really want comes across, you're still going to be attracted to that. You may have settled for something else, but you're still attracted to who you're attracted to. And then vice versa. The other person as well, you stand of being cheated on because you settled for them. They know you settled for them. And it always creates an imbalance. They will never fully feel desired, wanted, whatever word you want to use. And they know that. So in order to fill that gap, they can also cheat as well. So I think it's dangerous for both parties. Either party could cheat in the situation just because the person still wants what they want and the other person knows that they were never the first selection. So, yeah, I think settling is dangerous for both people involved.
Yeah. All right, what about you, Queen?
I just have to agree with what everybody said.
No, you got to come with your own sentiment. Ain't no dittos up in here. You can't sit up. You can't sit up here. You know what you call it? No.
Not around here, partner. Not around here. Not around.
Do that up. No ditto.
It is dangerous. I just feel that that's the problem too when it comes to like down to the divorce rate, because I feel like people get into settling situations and then now they're trying to get out of those situations, but because like my friend, she has a friend right now that settled for a nice guy. And so now she's about to get a divorce, and she's had a whole family with this, got kids and everything. And it's like, okay, you didn't realize these certain things before. Like, I feel like the marriage is only going to amplify those problems. So if you didn't handle those problems before, it's like now you're finally like, oh, the light bulb is on, but it's like you already had those issues and you settled for that. So now 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, you've settled and now you're getting a divorce, which you created chaos within your own home. So it's not a good look. And to add to what Jeans was saying, sometimes you could think that person is beneath you and then they surpass you too. So it's like, oh, that they was beneath you, but then now they surpass you. So now you got your own insecurities because now they're above you and now you here. So
yes, they might start working out, get the teeth fixed, and next thing you know, they feeling themselves.
Yeah.
What about you, Amanda? Thanks, Queen.
I agree with what everybody said. I think the essential thing is if you're struggling, do therapy. Therapy's great. I support therapy. Talk to somebody. Because at the end of the day, if you're settling and you're seeing it as a continuous pattern that you're attracting the same habits or the same thing, again, we can take it which way. So we can generalize this to a general audience. It could be with bad habits, relationships, whatever. If you see something that you're trying to break and you're having no luck doing so, it's time to analyze yourself, what you're doing while you're in those situations, and talk to somebody about it, because you should never settle or put yourself in a situation where, you know, and I'm reiterating, like I've been saying, don't question your morale or put yourself in a situation where you're changing yourself for somebody else because you want to be a people pleaser. You know, stand hard on what you believe in, and don't bend, and you will attract what you need to attract. So if you have shit you need to work on, you're gonna attract people who have shit to work on. If you're looking at yourself and doing everything you need to do, you will attract exactly that. So law of attraction, it comes all down to that. So don't settle. People do it often because of fears, and if you let fear rule your life, you're not going to get nowhere. So I'm gonna leave it with that.
All right. What about you, Giselle?
I agree with a whole lot that was said on this subject. Because I swear up and down there was another female that came along, but it's okay. We're gonna move on. As far as the boundaries go, one thing that after I got out of my relationship I struggled with was, one, I had immediately taken the accountability to say, okay, this is where I lacked and this is what I need to fix. He did not do that. But also I realized, I started therapy, and I realized that what has been the most difficult thing for me in this entire process, and why, at first I was like, okay, this is really, really hard because I want to be with him. And I'm exactly kind of what they were saying was, I'm worried I'm not going to find somebody like him again. Like, he's a really nice guy and he has all these traits. It's just like, man, he didn't validate my emotions. And so in the back of my head, I'm just like, I'm going to miss out on him. He's a great guy, even though he didn't validate my emotions. But actually what it turned out being, and what I'm still working with and it's still hard, is this is the first time I've had respect for myself and my boundaries. This is the first time I set those boundaries for myself, and I'm not turning back on them. I've wanted to text him. I've wanted to go talk to him and see him. And his birthday's coming up, and I contemplated last week, if I bring him balloons, maybe that's something he might enjoy, but right. You're looking at me like I'm crazy, but it's I'm that nice.
You're not crazy. I'm gonna say it. You're not crazy.
I'm yourself right? I'm I love love. I love you. I'm a ride or die. I want to show you what I can do. And that's all I've been used to. But sitting back and thinking about it and doing my therapy class, it's well, oh shit, no, this is hard because I'm not going back. This is hard because I did cut complete communication. This is hard because for the first time out of my 5-year narcissistic manipulative relationship, I'm not letting another man disrespect me and treat me like my values don't mean anything and that my boundaries are trash. No, we're not doing that. So yeah, good on you for respecting your boundaries and leaving me 2 days after a 6-month relationship. Okay. But for the first time in my life and in a relationship and for myself, I created self boundaries, not non-negotiables for the relationship boundaries, but self boundaries. And that's why it's so hard, because in a sense, I feel icky. I feel like not a good person, because I guess you can call me somewhat of a people pleaser when it has to do with the man I love. Not everybody. I'm not going to please everybody. I could care less. But when it comes to the man that I love, yeah, I'm a people pleaser with him, because I always want to show what I'm fully capable of. And I have to stop being naive to what I offer a man. And that's what my problem was, is that I was very naive in thinking that someone that can just not validate me and disrespect me and my boundaries deserved all of that effort. And so that's why this has been so difficult, is because you set those boundaries for yourself and you have to realize oh shit, you really got to follow these. Yeah. And I'm thankful for it, because it's a feeling I've never experienced before. And I hope for myself in future relationships, these boundaries.
Yeah. And that's the difference between being convinced and committed. I think you have the committed part, which is important. Yeah. I just want to, we're getting to the end. I just want to add, I was going to do this sooner, but I was just okay, maybe you're not going to do it. But I saw this clip, and I just got to ask, is this a real thing? Real quick. I know we run a little bit past 2-hour mark, and I usually try to keep it that, but I'm sorry. I got to see if this is a real thing, and I got to get you guys' opinion on something real quick. All right. All right. Can y'all see it?
Problem. I went on a date with this guy and he was like, it's getting late. Do you want to come back to my place? And I was like, sure, but I'm not going to sleep with you. Like, that's not happening. And he was like, that's totally fine. Just come over. And I was like, cool. So I go to his place. He respects my wishes. He's so nice. He cuddles me all night. And I'm like, are you gay? Like, what? And like, I just wanted him to like try, and then for me to be like, no, you know what I mean? I wasn't gonna sleep with him. But I just now I feel ugly. This is what.
I just had to know, is that real? Is that a real thing that happens? Is that
I unfortunately think, yeah, unfortunately it is. You do have people out here that are like that, and that goes into a whole psychological situation. I know y'all are laughing, but I've done a couple of research papers, and there is people out here, and that has to do with like
it's the chasing.
It goes deep below the surface when a person operates in that manner. And it's sad because at the end of the day, like, you're embarrassing yourself. Hopefully that's not the case for the young lady. And hopefully, like Eminem said, I just want to start controversy. But you would be foolish to believe that people don't move that way nowadays. So I definitely want to say to the public, it is very possible that women, men, whoever, can operate this way. It goes deeper below the surface when you have situations like that where you're like at a tug of war. But it can also be clickbait, so just don't believe everything you see on social media. But if you come across a situation like this, run.
Okay, because I was like this is going viral. Seriously, it's going viral. And she straight up was like, and other guys are like, that's exactly what happened to me. Other guys are like, that's what happened to me. And other women are like, I've done that before, you know, I've thought that before.
Like, say what you mean and mean what you say. Like, that's like point blank. I think we like said something like earlier about I think Mara said it about like dropping a hint to a guy or something. I'm gonna tell you straight up, I ain't dropping no hints. I'm gonna let you know, like, this is what it is. And that's what got me
really bad at picking up hints.
Trouble is like just coming out and saying how I felt and what I wanted. So it is what it is. But no, I think like that her whole situation, if it was just for show or if it's actually real, I think it's because she wants to be chased. Like she wants that feeling of like somebody chasing her. So she has the power to sit there and say like, no. So like you just told a man you don't want to be touched and then he doesn't touch you and you're like, are you gay? Like immediately, one, insulting him, and then two, like you're upset because you said something and he respected you. Like you're out of your mind.
There's this thing that that's called the power dynamic when men and women are dating. And I think what's happened is women usually have the power dynamic in their favor. But I think what's happening here is that he's taking the power dynamic because one of the things that's kind of used is like the main part of the power dynamic for women is the withholding of sex, the access to sex. So I think that's what he's showing that wasn't a part of it. So he's kind of taken the power dynamic and shifted in his favor. Yeah. So it kind of, I think it can kind of throw her for a loop. But we have come to the end of the show. I just want to thank everybody for coming on. You guys were phenomenal. Just great guests. You guys are more than welcome to come back to any of my panels that you want. So I just want to go around and say your last words, what you like. If you want people to be able to get a hold of you on social media, please say it now so they can reach out to you. Otherwise, just tell us how you felt about the show. And I'm going to start with you, Mara. Mara, how did you feel about the show?
It was very informative. Definitely had a good time. So thanks everyone for participating. This was really cool. Yeah, that last clip was really interesting as a side note. Anyway, I digress. So if you would like to contact me, I am mostly on TikTok under the Click 411. And same thing with Instagram. So you can find me on there.
Thank you. All right, Lisa. How was it, Lisa? Just some random guy you met at a birthday party said, "I'm going to put you on the show." How was it?
Well, thanks for inviting me. I really enjoyed it. And back to our original question, do nice guys finish last?
Do they?
I'm happy to say that they do not, but they weren't always nice guys.
So you said if they were bad guys who turned nice, then they got a chance.
That's a little shout out to my husband because he logged in about midway through this. Definitely
Shout out, Mr. Coleman.
He started off as a bad guy. He's a great guy now. I think he finished first.
That's good. Shout out to you, Mr. Coleman. All right, how about you, Queen?
Great conversation, everybody. Thank you for having me again. And if you want to follow me, I'm usually only on TikTok now at Pretty Prosperous. So check me out.
All right, the amazing, talented Miss Minna King. What do you got to say on the way out the door?
First, I want to say thank you, Damien, for having me back. It's always a pleasure. The topic was good. To answer, do nice guys finish last? I don't think so whatsoever. I think it just goes back to your character and who you are as a person. And if you want to follow me on IG at Amena Mercy. If you have more podcasts for anybody that wants me hosting, you can DM me and we could talk about it. And that's it.
Thank you. Jizzle. What do you got to say?
No, just thank you for having me. It was a good time. I really enjoy podcasts. I enjoy like in-depth conversations. So like finding this whole like being on the whole podcast thing is new to me and I really love it. If you want to find me, I'm at _musclemommy _ on Instagram. I'm on TikTok too, but not really. It's mostly Instagram. It's a fitness-based profile. So if you like fitness, definitely follow. To kind of like sum up on the nice guys finishing last, I also don't think they finished last, but I think if you want to be with a confident, attractive woman, then you need to learn the skills to be with one. So.
Good job. And I still ain't giving up the hope that you and Minna become besties since you live so close to each other. I'm just hoping. I'm just putting it out there. I'm just trying to make a best friend hookup, whatever.
Well, I can do what it do. The podcast is lit.
All right. How about you, Jarek?
All right. Y'all can catch me on Manic Sophistication channel. We do all kind of like crazy stuff on there. But great conversation, Dame. I would just say everybody, get with somebody that truly likes you. I think that's the key to everything. And don't treat them like shit. Stay loyal and stuff. And I think that's the answer. And I will say this, I'm going to give women a little bit of game. Get y'all ugly dude and convince yourself that you're not settling and you'll win. You'll win. That's the answer to all. But back to you, Dave. It was like, hell no.
Get you a Samuel Jackson. Get you a motherfucking Samuel Jackson. Get you. What about you, Genius?
Definitely enjoyed the panel. Thank you, Dave, for putting all this together. I enjoyed hearing everybody's different perspectives. And, nice guys, they don't finish last, but people with lack of awareness do finish last. So you can find me on IG at The Manic Genius. And the Sophisticated Jerk and I have the Manic Sophistication channel that we're on. And Will Nkuzi's Kava Club podcast. And, of course, here with Damien at Can I Get Some podcast. So yeah, that's where we'll be at. Yeah, appreciate you for putting this all together.
All right. So my take on do nice guys finish last. They only finish last if they run in the wrong race. If you're a sprinter, You don't get in the hurdles. If you're a long jumper, you don't get in the high jump. Make sure that you run in the right race that's for you. Don't try to horseshoe yourself or shoehorn yourself in a race where your attributes don't benefit you in order to get a victory out of it. So just be more discerning on who you're giving your attention to, and make sure that they're expressing the same kind of sentiment back for you. If they're not, you may, like I said, you may be in the wrong race and you're just setting yourself up for failure. This is a show that we do every Tuesday at 9:00 Central Time, or it's 10:00 Eastern, 7:00 Pacific Time, depending on where you are. Like I said, I've enjoyed having all of you guys here. You guys were very insightful, forthcoming, and transparent, which is, I think, the makings of a great podcast show. So thank you. I just got to give all of you one more round of applause. All right. And anybody, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe and go check out all of the people that were on the podcast channels and panels and TikToks or what have you. Show them as much love as you can. Just blow up their spot. But that is going to be the end of the show for now. And once again, I appreciate all of you. And I will see you guys next Tuesday, 9:00. We'll be talking something else, probably doing relationships. I know it says politics and pop culture, but everybody seems to want to talk about relationships. So let's keep it pushing. All right, everybody. Peace out.